We've all seen the classic Christmas cards. A lonely wooden stable on the outskirts of town, a cold barn filled with hay, and a tired couple rejected by a heartless innkeeper. But what if I told you that almost every detail of that image is historically, architecturally, and culturally wrong? Welcome to the Biblical Lens. Today, we are stripping away centuries of Western tradition to look at the birth of Jesus through the eyes of a first-century Judean. By the end of this video, you will understand why the inn wasn't a hotel, why the manger wasn't in a barn, and how the true story reveals a much deeper message of hospitality and humility. Our journey begins with a single Greek word, kataluma. In most English Bibles, Luke chapter 2 verse 7 tells us there was no room for them in the inn. This has led generations to picture a no vacancy sign at a local hotel. However, the Greek language has a very specific word for a commercial inn or a public hotel, pandosion. Luke actually uses that word later in the story of the Good Samaritan. But for the Nativity, Luke chose kataluma. In the first century, a kataluma wasn't a hotel. It was a guest room, typically an upper room or a side room in a private family home. When Joseph and Mary arrived in Bethlehem, they weren't looking for a Marriott. They were returning to Joseph's ancestral home, where family would have been obligated by the strict Middle Eastern code of hospitality to take them in. To understand why Jesus was placed in a manger, we have to look at how people actually lived in Bethlehem 2,000 years ago. Most houses were two-tiered stone structures, often built directly in front of or over a small cave. The family lived on the upper level. The lower level, which was usually just a few steps down, was where the family kept their most prized possessions, their animals. At night, the donkey, the ox, and a few sheep would be brought inside the house to keep them safe from predators and thieves, and to provide natural central heating for the family sleeping above. Now, where does the manger fit in? In a first-century home, the manger wasn't a wooden box filled with hay in a distant barn. It was a feeding trough carved directly into the stone floor of the lower level, or built into the wall that separated the animal area from the family area. When Luke says there was no room in the kataluma, the guest room, it most likely means the upper room was already packed with other relatives who had arrived for the census. Because the guest room was full, Mary and Joseph stayed in the main living area of the house, the lower level where the animals were. When Jesus was born, the most natural, safest, and warmest place to lay him was in the stone manger that was already right there in the room with them. Why does this matter? Because the traditional, lonely stable story suggests that Jesus was rejected and isolated from the moment of his birth. But the cultural reality is far more powerful. Jesus wasn't born in a cold barn. He was born in the heart of a crowded, humble family home. He was surrounded by the noise, the warmth, and the reality of everyday life. This context highlights the incarnation, the idea that God didn't just come to earth. He came into the very middle of our messy, crowded, ordinary lives. He wasn't hidden away in a stable. He was accessible to everyone, from the lowest shepherd to the most elite scholar. Bible, through its original lens, changes the way we understand these stories. Did you know the difference between a kataluma and an inn before today? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you found this deep dive helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the Biblical Lens for more investigations into the mysteries and context of the Word. Thanks for watching. Join us in our next video as we discuss the trial of Jesus.